And Assembly Member, you're welcome to present whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair and Senators. I'd like to begin by accepting an amendment requesting by the committee to change mentions of disadvantaged communities with under-resourced communities along with the appropriate cross-references.
Thank you.
Thank you. California has been a global leader in combating climate change. Our state has led the way in aggressive emissions reductions while expanding our economy to be the 5th largest in the world. Although this has been great progress, there is more and more evidence showing that our investments to fight climate change are not going to communities where funding is most needed. A June 2020 report authored by the staff from the UCLA Center for Sustainable Communities found that the structure of our climate investments is skewed to benefit the most affluent communities in our state. This has come at the expense of disadvantaged communities, and they have significantly less ability and resources to access existing programs and incentives. Vulnerable communities are being left by the wayside as our state addresses climate change. AB 680 helps bridge this gap by implementing new key policies recommended in the California Workforce Development Board's recent report, putting California on the high road, a jobs and climate action plan for 2030. This bill comes to you after enjoying bipartisan support coming off the Assembly floor. AB 680 would require GGRF applicants to use fair and responsible employer standards to promote high-quality jobs, inclusive procurement policies to make sure applicants are contracting with other reasonable, responsible entities and prevailing wage for construction projects. This bill would further prioritize applicants that partner with educational institutions and training programs that target residents of under-resourced tribal and low-income communities in the same region as the project. These provisions, which are just a few of the recommendations proposed by the CWDB's High Road Report, will put principles of equity on the front end of the application process rather than an afterthought through the set-asides we currently have in place. I respectfully request an aye vote on AB 680 to make sure that communities which need these climate investments are not left behind. Thank you.
All right, and I understand there's no identified lead support witness on this bill.
Here to testify is Jeremy Smith from the California State Building Trades.
Okay, welcome. You may go ahead and proceed for up to 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Jeremy Smith here on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. Apologize in advance to the author and to the committee for our letter not being in. We are in strong support of this legislation. This is an effort that's been ongoing for several years to put some guidelines around this GGRF funding to ensure that the money that's coming in, billions of dollars coming in and going out again, go to produce good jobs with high wages, actually produce middle-class livelihoods for the workers in the different industries benefiting from the GGRF. We are happy that the Assembly member has taken on this effort this year. We think it is long overdue. We would oppose any effort to carve out any part of statute that deals with an industry that gets funding from GGRF, because we really do believe we need to, as you all need as a legislature, to put your foot down and say, you know, basically through this bill, we are going to ensure that workers are taken care of in industries that receive GGRF. It's the right thing to do. I think taxpayers, if you ask them, would say, yes, we want our money going to good wages, good jobs, to ensure that workers in these industries are not receiving their health care or receiving benefits through other state agencies or state programs. Instead, they're getting them from their wages and their benefits that they earn from their job. So for those reasons, we're happy to support the bill today. We thank the authors for bringing it forward, and we urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move now to support positions of people who are present in the committee who would like to take a support position on AB 680. Please come forward.
Manuela Boucher on behalf of the California Labor Federation in support.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else here present who wishes to testify in support of AB 680?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members. Tim Kremens, International Union of Operating Engineers, full support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the committee room who wishes to speak in support of AB 680? Seeing none, we'll check the spillover room for witnesses. There is no one there wishing to testify. We'll go to the moderator and ask the moderator to please queue up any support witnesses on AB 680, and please let us know the number of witnesses. Thank you.
Thank you. If you are in support of AB 680, you may press 1 and then 0. 1 and then 0 if you're in support of AB 680. And Mr. Chair, we have 2 at this time, and we will go to line 175. Your line is open.
Mr. Chair and members, good afternoon. James Thurwester with the California State Council of Laborers in strong support.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to line 174. Your line is open.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Madeline Cooper from Nielsen Merksmer on behalf of the Associated Builders and Contractors of California. We remain in a support at the MEND position and look forward to continued conversations with the author. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have no further support in queue at this time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, moderator. We'll come back to the opposition side of the equation here. We have a lead opposition witness, as I understand it, Mark Stivers. Good afternoon. Please proceed.
Thank you, sir. Mark Stivers with the California Housing Partnership. And we respectfully must oppose AB 680 unless amended. We all support strong labor standards for state programs, but as Senator Cortese said in Senate Housing Committee the other day, there are times when this makes sense and times when it doesn't. For the 2 affordable housing programs funded by the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, the bills just don't make sense. The Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities program receives 20% of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund revenues, and already serves disadvantaged communities, often in inland areas where we just don't have much of a union workforce. A 2019 study by the state building trades mentioned that we need to double or triple our state construction workforce to meet our meet housing needs generally, and I've heard estimates that only about 20% of the current construction workforce is union. So a project that must have a project labor agreement but cannot find a union contractor will not be able to proceed at any price. And in places where, with more of a union presence, it will be difficult to get 3 competitive bids from union contractors, in which case the contractors will have market power to set any price. Likewise, with the low-income weatherization program, that brings solar and energy efficiency to existing affordable housing. The work is generally done as part of a major overhaul of the redevelopment, rehabilitation, as it were. And if any one source triggers prevailing wage, the entire scope of work must be prevailing wage, which raises costs on average 13% statewide. But in this case, a housing provider simply will pass on the low-income weatherization program funds, as it would add more cost to the project than they would receive in the amount of the grant, being a net negative. California will lose the greenhouse gas reductions and subject residents to higher utility bills as a result. So we respectfully request that the committee consider an amendment to exempt Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities program and the low-income weatherization program from this bill. That leaves the remainder of the bill intact and helps us not only achieve our affordable housing goals, but also our greenhouse gas reduction goals. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for being here. We'll open it up now to anyone in the committee room who wishes to speak in opposition to AB 680. Please come forward. Seeing none, we'll check the overflow room. There's no one there to testify. We'll go to the moderator and ask the moderator to queue up any opposition witnesses on AB 680.
Thank you. If you're in opposition of AB 680, you may press 1 and then 0. 1 and then 0 if you're in opposition of AB 680. Mr. Chair, we have 2 in queue. We will go to line of 153. Your line is open.
Marina Wyant with the California Housing Consortium. We echo the remarks of my colleague, Mr. Stiver, and urge your opposition. Thank you.
Thank you. And 1 moment, please. I would give them their line number. And as a reminder, we're in opposition of AB 680. You may press 1 and then 0. And we will go to the line of 169. Your line is open.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members. Richard Markison for the Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Contractors of California and the Western Electrical Contractors Association in strong opposition to AB 680. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we have no further opposition in queue at this time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you again, moderator. We'll come back to the committee for any comments, questions, or concerns. Senator Durazo.
Yes, I would move the bill when it's appropriate, Mr. Chair. And I also want to applaud the author. I think this is such an important connection to make between our environmental needs, especially, and I really appreciate changing the word disadvantaged to under-resourced. It's not like communities are born disadvantaged. It's because a deliberate decision is made over and over and over again to under-resource, not provide the resources for those communities. That's what creates a disadvantage. It's not the other way around. I think the part of being under-resourced is not having access to good paying jobs. And we have to come to grips with that, because we cannot do our environmental duties and create low-paying jobs. And then that creates a demand for more affordable, low-income housing. Then that, I mean, it's just a terrible, vicious cycle. So I think this is the direction of high road partnerships that we're talking about. I know in the workforce development agencies and groups, we really need good-paying jobs, period. And I'm glad to support, and I thank the author.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Senator. Anyone else at this time? Yes, Madam Vice Chair.
So, for the record, and this goes through any of my committees, you're more than welcome to give me feedback on this part, but it's my understanding that any state-funded project in the state of California, any state project, obviously state of California, but any state project is already under the purview that they have to be, the employees have to be paid prevailing wage. I mean, from a local perspective, it's my understanding that anything that has state funding must be, or employees must be paid prevailing wage.
I'm willing, Jeremy's going to come up and answer that so that you have a 100% concrete answer. However, clearly that's not the case because we still have to sign. But,
Yes, Jeremy Smith here on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. Yes, that is correct, Senator. Any construction project that has state funding over $1,000 does have to pay prevailing wage.
Okay, so with that in mind, I continuously see this proposition to put in statute what I call, in my personal opinion, discriminatory practices where not everyone has the ability to bid on these projects. Given the fact, and with the understanding that we are trying to provide prevailing wage jobs, but it is mandatory, it's in statute already in California that anybody that bids or provides or bids on these projects that provide these jobs on state funded projects are prevailing wage. So I have a concern with this bill in the sense that we don't have, we're limiting who can bid for these jobs, not necessarily with the fact that they're not going to be paying prevailing wage because they have to. But my concern would be in areas where labor is limited. You know, we don't have a lot of opportunities for different companies to come and bid. So that makes the number of companies that can bid on projects to a smaller number, which means that the cost of doing that project, not the fact that they're not paying prevailing wage because they have to do that, but the cost of the profit margin would be higher. So the prices would be much, much higher for these projects.
all right, wait, I just want to make sure I understand.
Sure.
You're saying that even though they have to pay prevailing wage, which would be the same amount, that why would the project be more expensive in your purview? Because there would be less people bidding on the projects?
So because there's less people being able to bid on these projects, it could facilitate the profit margin to go higher. But if you open it to anyone and everyone, there actually would be an effective means of bidding process on it.
And I guess my confusion is that why wouldn't any of them be able to work with the building trades? Why would any of them not be allowed to work with the building trades?
No, I mean,
within a
no, my goal is, my intent is to emphasize that I would love for it to be open to everyone, not just particularly.
It is open to everyone. We're not we're not saying that there's anyone that cannot bid. We're just saying that they should be through an apprenticeship program and have worked with an apprenticeship program in the construction trades. That is not saying that anyone can bid. Anyone can work with the building trades. As a matter of fact, in my work on this bill, talking to the opposition, trying to understand when they say that there's areas where there's lack of workers, it is actually the job of the building trades to work with these companies to make sure that they build that job force in any areas that there aren't the ample amount of workers and to get them there. So this doesn't limit who can bid. And now I understand that that's a way to look at it if you want to, but the reality is it doesn't limit who, there's no limitations to who can work with the construction trades.
Okay, so anyone from any apprenticeship program can actually work on these projects?
Go ahead.
Yes, Senator, there are union and non-union state-approved apprenticeship programs, and one of the beauties, or the most important parts of the prevailing wage, other than paying living wages and middle-class benefits, it fixes the cost of labor. Everybody's bidding on the same project under the same rules, so they're going to have the same labor costs, whether they're union or non-union.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else from members of the committee? Seeing none, let me just say to the author before you close, I too appreciate your willingness to work with the committee and on the amendments. I think the concern you've agreed to address with the underserved communities. I won't repeat much of what Senator Durazo said, but I know there was concern early on, not just with this bill, but in general at times when we use the wrong index or indicator or one that we haven't reached the outcomes that we'd like to see, these issues come up. So we appreciate your cooperation again, and this will be your opportunity to close if you'd like to take the opportunity.
Thank you, Chair, to the Chair and the Senators, and thank you to your committee staff for the work on this bill. We appreciate it, and we understand and appreciate the new vernacular. And Senator, thank you for your comments. I would have to reiterate that when we're speaking about with the opposition, we did do a lot of work with them, and also that it is very important. We have a fundamental disbelief. Why would we build affordable housing and not pay people a proper wage and give them the proper benefits that they really do deserve and give them the training that they need to have not just to have real careers, to have real opportunity? And I think that's what state funds really should go to. With that, I simply request an aye vote.
Okay, and thank you again. And Senator Durazo offered a motion. So we'll ask the consultant to call the roll, please.
The motion is to pass as amended, but first amend and be re-referred to the Committee on Environmental Quality. Cortese?
Aye.
Cortese, aye. Ochoa Bog?
No.
Ochoa Bog, no. Durazo?
Aye.
Durazo, aye. Laird?
Aye.
Laird, aye. Newman?
Aye.
Newman, aye.
Okay, the vote is 4-1. The bill is out. Thank you. Assemblymember Flora would be next up on our agenda, AB 1023. Welcome,